So let's take a few moments to arrive fully into this space. Sit comfortably, straighten your spine, relax your shoulders. You can close your eyes for a few moments if you wish. Bring a gentle smile to your face and focus on your breath. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, let go of all the thoughts of the past week. Fill your lungs again deeply. And as you exhale, let go of all your plans and to-do lists for this weekend. Inhale deeply and become fully present with your breath. Let's get ready to chant 3 Oms together. Take a deep breath in. I will chant the opening prayers. So as it's the first time for a lot of you, I'm putting it up on the screen. So I will chant it first and you can repeat after me. With folded hands. Om Sada Shiva Samarambam
Om Sadashivam
Samaram
Shankaracharya Madhyamam
Shankaracharya Madhyamam
Asmadacharya Paryantam
Asmadacharya Paryantam
Vande Guru Paramparam
Vande Guru Paramparam
Om Sahana Bhavatu
Sahana Bhavatu
Sahanau Bhunaktu
Sahana Bhunaktu
Saha Viryam Karavavahai
Sahaviryam Karavavahai
Tejasvinavaditamastu
Tejasvinavaditamastu
Ma Vidvishavahai
Ma Vidvishavahai
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti
Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
So welcome again. Lovely to have all of you join us here for this study of Tattva Bodha. So a few of you might be seeing me for the first time, so I'll just quickly introduce myself. I'm Spandana, as the name says. By qualification, I'm an engineer and an MBA and a Shivananda certified yoga teacher. I am a marketer by profession, but about 2 years ago, I left full-time corporate life to focus more on this study. I'm very blessed and grateful that life has allowed me opportunities like this to do so. During the first lockdown, I had the incredible blessing to find myself in Shivananda Ashram. And I was locked down with my Acharya Raviji there. And he taught us in those months daily, just muting you all. He taught us in those months daily He taught us Tattva Bodha and Bhagavad Gita at that time, and to a small group of 5, 6 of us, who were interested for this knowledge. So for a while, I found myself as part of this old school Gurukul system, and it was incredibly life-changing. So this text is also very close to my heart for that reason. So before starting, I like to say that whatever wisdom you find in what I'm saying, please know none of it is mine. It is all passed down from the Sampradaya, the Guru's Sishya lineage that I have received these teachings from. And if sometimes you may find any faults, it will probably be because of my deficiency alone. So let's start. We are here to study Tattva Bodha, and we said it's an introductory text to Advaita Vedanta. Now, a lot of you are first-timers to Vedanta itself, so let's first look at what is Advaita Vedanta, right? So most of you seem to be Indian, so you would have heard of the Vedas, which is our ancient scriptures. We will have actually a very detailed discussion on what all is consisted in these scriptures a bit later on. But for now, suffice to know that Vedanta, anta means the end. So this knowledge is found in the end, literally, portion of the Vedas, and it is the highest knowledge about the true nature of yourself, of everything. And so that's what we're here to study. And Advaita means, Dvaitam is duality, and Advaita means non-duality. We will again really dive deep into what that means. But for now, you can just understand it as this teaching tells you about the oneness of everything, the oneness of all of existence. So the text itself, Tattva Bodha, is written in prose form, and some say it was written by Adi Shankaracharya. Others say it was another Shankaracharya of the same lineage. So it is assumed to be most likely written by an Acharya belonging to the Kanchi Math. So, but all this is not really important. What is important is to know that this text is respected well enough that it is often the first text presented to those desirous of seeking this knowledge. And in our class now, we have a lot of first-time students, but we also have a lot of seasoned students who've been studying with us for many years, and they're choosing to do this text once more, which should tell you the importance that we place on this particular text, because it introduces, first of all, gives you an overview of this world of Advaita Vedanta, and gives you a lot of these essential terms that we must understand fully to really understand this teaching. So Bodha means knowledge. So this text is the knowledge of Tattvam. Tattvam meaning reality or true nature. Now, of course, you'll wonder, true nature of what? This is about the true nature of yourself. So really, it should be the most fascinating topic for everyone here, because who doesn't really like hearing about themselves or talking about themselves? If for some reason you're one of those few people who do not, you will soon hopefully be utterly fascinated with how wondrous you are. In a way, we could also say that Tattva Bodha is about self-knowledge. Now, you could ask, why should one pursue this self-knowledge? We are all intelligent human beings, and no thinking, rational person undertakes any activity unless there is a benefit, right? So let's see, what are some of the things we do in life and why do we do them? What are the reasons we do the things that we do? Could I have some answers? You can unmute yourself.
To be happy.
Correct. To be happy. What are the reasons?
To get noticed by others.
To get noticed, for attention, yes.
Validation.
To find meaning.
As a human, we need validation.
Validation, meaning.
To fulfill our desires.
To fulfill desires. And what are these desires?
Fulfill the
Material
curiosity.
desires.
Fulfill the curiosity.
Curiosity, yes. Why do we work?
To
For
feed us.
again, for financial need and for bodily needs.
Financial need, bodily needs, right? Why do we...
Security.
Security, correct. Why do we pursue relationships? Why do we build families?
Again, for emotional security.
Right. Thank you so much. So, yeah, so we do a bunch of all these things for, like you gave me wonderful answers, for security, for love, for recognition, fame, happiness. So we undertake a lot of these various kinds of activities for these different goals and desires that we have. Shastra, scriptures tells us that all the goals that we have, all the human goals, can be divided into 4 categories. We call them Purushartas, or it's called the Chaturvida Purusharta, the 4 Purushartas. Most of you might have probably heard the names. These are Artha, Kama, Dharma, and Moksha. So we will look at the first 3 to start with, and then we'll come to Moksha a bit later. We don't want to overwhelm you. So Artha means security. It's all these things that we do for our basic needs, to put clothes on our back, to have food to eat, to have a roof over our heads. Even people we might choose to surround ourselves with because we feel more secure to be in a community or a family and not be alone, right? So everything that you pursue for security, for your needs, to fulfill your needs, this comes as Artha. It can also be translated as wealth because, of course, a lot of us feel that having wealth will make us more secure. It will give us money to buy things, which is why we work, we do activities to build our wealth and so on. And the second Purusharta is Kama, which means pleasure. These are all our wants. These are all the things that we do for entertainment, the little luxuries, the vacations we might take, or going for a movie, or spending time hanging out with your buddies. This is all Kama, your wants or desires, right? So what is Artha for someone and what is Kama for someone is very personal. So of course, we all have a certain set of basic needs we cannot do without. But some of us can do with a little less than others. So for someone, a little hut might suffice as shelter to make them feel secure. But for someone else, unless they have a 2-bedroom apartment with air conditioning for the summers, they might feel their needs are not met. So this is a very personal thing. So what is a need for you is Artha. What is a want for you is Kama. And then we come to the third Purusharta, which is Dharma. Now, you would have heard the term, of course, Dharma. And in this context, it means doing our duty, doing what's right. And what motivates us to do our duty and do the right thing? Because somewhere intuitively, at least for sure in this Eastern culture, we all believe that if I want good things to happen to me, I must do good things. Correct? So a lot of us might believe in things like rebirth. So if I do well in this life, I will have a good next birth. Or if I behave badly, I might be born as a rat. But and some other culture, some other religions also believe in a heaven and hell. So if I do good in this life, I will enjoy heaven after death. And if I am not good, I will burn in hell, So these are the things we do because we are motivated by what happens to us beyond this lifetime. And so together, these three Shastra calls as prayers, what is pleasing for one. If you really look at, some of you also said happiness is what we seek. If you look at a lot of these other things that we do, building wealth, making families, ultimately, if you keep digging on, why do I want this? Why do I want that next promotion? And why do I want my kid to get married? Or why do I want grandchildren? You will somewhere come down to the answer that you want happiness. It might be very good intention. You might want your kids to be happy, but eventually it's because if your kids are happy, you will be happy. That's why you want these things. Now, if I were to ask you, do you want a little happiness or a lot of happiness? What would you say?
Permanent happiness, never to be
Lots
unhappy.
Right. So do you want to be happy today or do you want to be happy tomorrow?
Forever.
Whatever.
Do you want to be happy in this room you're sitting in right now? Or do you want to be happy outside this room?
Wherever I am.
Both.
We're all looking for permanent, lasting happiness. Now, pursuing happiness from these three goals, Artha, Kama, Dharma, Shastra tells us, and we would have observed ourselves, certain defects, certain limitations. We call them doshas. These are the first dosha of pursuing these first three Purushartas is dukkha mishri tattva. It means dukkam, sadness, mishri is mixture, tattvam. So it's mixed with pleasure and pain. This pleasure we are seeking is always mixed with pain. So if you want a new car, for example, there is a pain in acquiring this car. You will have to put in some money for it. You would have had to earn that money to buy this car or take a loan. You would have had to go select the right car. So there is a certain amount of pain involved in acquiring this object that you want. Then you will find that there is a pain in maintaining this object. You will have to wash this car daily or pay someone to wash this car daily. You will have to keep getting it serviced every 6 months or 1 year, right? If someone scratches it, you will have to get that fixed and so on. So there is a certain pain in maintaining this car that you wanted. And eventually there will be a pain in loss. After 10 years or 15 years, this car will stop working. There is a crash and it could be much shorter. So at some point you will lose this object that you desired, and there is a pain in that loss. So all these things we pursue that give us pleasure for some amount of time are mixed with pain, pain of acquiring, pain of maintaining, and pain of losing. So that is the first dosha or the defect. The second dosha or defect is atriptikaratvam. Atripti means dissatisfaction. So none of these things will completely satisfy you. So you might have really wanted this car. You thought it was the best thing possible. But then after a few months of use, the same company comes out with a better model, which you wish you had waited for, or your neighbor buys an even better car, right? So it will not completely satisfy you. Look at all the things in your life so far. In school, you were told and believed that if you get into a good college, that's it, life will be set. In college, you were told, work hard now, land a good job, and then you'll be set for life. Great. And then you started working and you thought, if I get that next promotion, reach that particular salary level, then I will be completely secure and I will be set then. Or you thought, if I have a wonderful partner, get married, then I will be happy. Later you thought, okay, now once my kids are settled, I will be happy. So this dissatisfaction, it's endless. That none of these other things that these external things that we desire and chase completely satisfy us. They might give us happiness for a certain amount of time, but they will not fully satisfy us. So that is the second dosha. And the third dosha is bandhakatva, which means dependence. The more one acquires things, the more one becomes dependent on them for their security and for their happiness or entertainment, the more these things will bind us. They will make us dependent on them. So how do we find happiness without these defects? Because like all of you said, you don't want happiness now or tomorrow. You want unlimited, complete, permanent happiness, correct? So that brings us to the fourth Purusharta, which is Moksha. So very simply put, Moksha is happiness, unlimited happiness, free from these defects that we just discussed. So this alone, Shastra calls Shreyas, what is good for you. And the first three Purushartas are called Preyas, what is pleasing. So you might have these various goals in life, and the Vedas will give you ways to pursue all these goals well. So you might have a desire for wealth, you might have a desire to have a son. So there is rituals in the Vedas to acquire any of these things. Someone who desires wealth will pray to Goddess Lakshmi. Someone who desires strength will pray to Lord Hanuman. So we also have deities that you can worship as per your desires. But like some of you already mentioned, in seeking all of these things, we are ultimately seeking happiness. So whether one knows it or not, we are actually seeking moksha. So eventually we will come to realize it, and eventually we will come to, at that point, one comes to Vedanta, because that's where this knowledge is found. So as long as we're in the first three Purushartas, we're obsessed with the first three Purushartas, there's plenty of suggestions in the rest of Vedas on how to achieve this. But when one ultimately realizes that, oh, there is something beyond this, I cannot seek permanent happiness from these impermanent things, then we come to the fourth Purusharta and we come to Vedanta. Now, how does one get moksha? Right. Before that, any questions so far in the Purushartas or doshas that we discussed? Okay.
What's the first dosha you said, Spandanaji?
First, what? Sorry.
Dosha.
First dosha is dukkha mishri tattva.
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure mixed with pain.
Is pain same as effort?
Yes, you can say that. There is there is some pain in effort, right? Not exactly the same, because we're also talking about the pain of
Loss.
losing something in the end, right? So it's a bit of both effort and pain.
Second one is Dukkha Mishra.
Dukkha mishra
Second one.
tattva. Then we have atripti,
Atraptikara.
which is dissatisfaction, and then bandhakatva, which is dependence.
Thank you.
I'll continue. So coming to moksha, what is moksha? Very simply, it's how do you get moksha? It's to get moksha, one has to get into an inquiry of who am I? This inquiry has to be undertaken, but it has to be undertaken with the help of Shastra, with the help of scriptures. It cannot be done independently. We will again discuss this in detail when we come to the section where I'll explain on the different sources of knowledge on why this inquiry can only be done with Shastra. So please wait till then. But in the meantime, let's demystify moksha some more. We are not talking about attaining some kind of flying yogi abilities or sitting in samadhi for years. We are just talking about benefits which can be attained in this very life, benefits that we all already seek, and benefits which are very much in our grasp right now. So there are several. We talk about 5 main ones. The first one is jignasa nivritti. So some of these terms, if you're not getting immediately, I'm not using too many presentation or anything like that, but I will post these critical Sanskrit terms in the group once again. So don't worry about it if you didn't get the exact spelling or something. So the first one, a benefit that we talk about of moksha is jignasa nivritti. Jignasa is the curiosity to know. Humans, because of our advanced intellect, have a natural curiosity to know about things around us. Now, when you got added to the Tattva Bodha WhatsApp group that I made, or when you logged into class today, you probably checked how many people are there. Do I know any of them? We always have this curiosity, and this curiosity has made human beings explore across lands, across oceans, even in space. It's almost an insatiable thirst. Most of us would probably say we love to travel, to explore new cultures. We're all modern day explorers at heart, even now. If someone were to see our Google search history, you would likely find some very quirky questions there that you might not really ask out loud even, So there are infinite questions that we have. Probably some of you have wondered, do I have free will? Are they factors beyond my control which seem to bring me so much misery sometimes? Other times I seem to just get lucky. Though usually if good things happen, people tend to believe it's because of my own effort. And when bad things happen, they many times curse the God perhaps they didn't even believe in till that very point, right? This is often happens. But you might have also wondered, why do bad things seem to happen to good people? And why do some people seem to get away with everything? There are so many questions like this that we all probably already had. You might remember you had many of these questions even as a child. You asked your parents and the adults around you, and you never really got the answers. So at some point we drop these questions and then get on with the busyness of life. So I invite you, take a moment now, close your eyes, and try to remember what are the unanswered questions that you have. What are these big questions? Lovely. So just keep that thought with you, keep that intention with you to find an answer for those questions. And I do believe during the course of the study, some of those will be answered. Now, whenever there is a developed intellect, there is a curiosity to know. This curiosity that we have can be categorized into three basic categories. We have a curiosity about ourselves, about myself. There is a curiosity about the world, who created this world, what is this world I see? And we have a curiosity, a spiritual curiosity about, you can say curiosity about God. Is there a God? Is he all powerful? Is he listening to me right now? So most of this curiosity that we have can be categorized into these three things. We call it Jiva, myself, Jagat, the world, and Ishvara. We have this Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara Jignasa, curiosity about these three things. And it will include everything else you might have, which is about why am I like this? What is my purpose? What will make me happy? These are all the questions which can be categorized as Jiva Jignasa. And then all the questions about the world, how things work, this can be categorized as Jagat Jignasa. And all the spiritual questions can be categorized under Ishvara Jignasa. The Jignasa is the curiosity to know more and more about that. The ultimate truth behind this apparent triangle must be discovered. And this we call Tattva, or Brahman, or Atman. Not knowing something makes us restless. If you're on your morning walk and you see a few people have stopped and are pointing to the sky, are you not likely to also stop and have a look? As humans, we cannot stand not knowing. Any kind of ignorance makes us restless. This self-knowledge is meant to satisfy this biggest curiosity about the self. Who am I? Why am I here? What is my destination? And am I on the right path? This is Jignasa Nivritti, and that is the first main benefit of attaining moksha, or even being on the path to attain moksha. The second benefit we will talk about is Vidyananda Prapti. This Vidya is knowledge, Ananda is happiness, of course. And so we're talking about the benefit, the Ananda born out of this Vidya, the joy born out of this knowledge. So any joy born out of knowledge is always more subtle, more refined, right? So we have the story of Archimedes, who on discovering the theory of buoyancy when he was in the bathtub, was so elated that he jumped out and ran naked across the streets screaming, Eureka! It was that was the joy he felt on discovering this knowledge. The joy we're talking about now is even more than that. It's even more refined. It is because it is a joy which is not subject to negation, and it is not subject to improvement. It is born out of a sense of knowing your Purvartam, your completeness. So that is Vidyananda, and that is what this knowledge will give you. You have to understand this is quite opposed to what we call Vishaya Ananda, which is the happiness arising from external objects, which is Vishaya Ananda is what all these other goals, chasing the other goals, Purushartas will give you, because it's a happiness which is external to you. It has a certain level of gradation. You call it Priya, Moda, and Pramoda. So say, when I first see an object of my desire, I was walking down the street and I see this white kurta in the shop window, I feel a certain joy. So that is Priya. So then I go into the shop, I maybe try it on, I look in the mirror, wow, it looks really nice on me. So that is Moda. That is joy born out of possessing your desired object, right? So then I go buy this, come back home, put on this white kurta, go to meet a friend for a chai, and she says, wow, this looks really lovely on you. And that's it, my joy is complete. And that is pramoda, that is having enjoyment of this object. So there is a gradation in this Vishaya Ananda that we feel, which also means that we know it comes and goes, right? This pramoda, joy that you feel in completely enjoying the object, will go away at some point. I will get bored with this kurta, or it'll get dirty, and so it won't give me the same kind of joy anymore after a while. Now, Vidyananda is not subject to this kind of gradation. It is complete joy. It is also not subject to the 3 doshas that we talked about. Because this vidya, this knowledge, is about myself. It is the most intimate thing. It is not dependent on any external factors. And when scriptures give this knowledge, they tell me that I'm not this ordinary, defective person I might have thought myself to be. In fact, I'm the most wonderful thing in creation. It's certainly very nice to hear these things, whether you believe them or not at this point. In the course of the Vedanta study, hopefully you will realize one day that it is true that you are the most wonderful thing in creation. So that is the second benefit of studying this knowledge, which is Vidyananda Prapti. And the third benefit is Karpanna Nivritti, which is can be translated as freedom from desperation. So Vishayananda, like we said, is dependent on a variety of factors. For example, just to enjoy a dish, like say you ordered your favorite dish in a restaurant, so many things must go well. The chef must have prepared it as per your taste. The waiter shouldn't have left it sitting on the counter for too long, so it's not cold by the time it arrives. Your tasting and smelling faculties must be functioning well. Some of you probably had COVID after effects and remember how you couldn't taste anything for ages, right? So Vishaya Ananda is experiential. It's time bound. It has a beginning and it has an end. The food Ananda will only last as long as you are eating. And it is also unpredictable. So these are 2 main problems with it, that it is time bound and it is unpredictable. And it's dependent on so many things. And whenever there is unpredictability, we have stress and anxiety. Vidyananda, hence, can serve as a standby, something to fall back upon. We're all intelligent people here, and we know not to rely on unpredictable things. If you live in an area which is subject to frequent power cuts, you would have probably by this point got yourself an inverter so that when the power goes off, you have a standby. So it's called, these inverters are also called UPS, uninterrupted power supply. So Swami Paramarthananda of our lineage, who has quite a fun way with acronyms, calls this also UPS, which is uninterrupted pleasure supply. So when you have this Vidya Ananda, there is no longer any desperation. If the world gives me joy, great, I will take it, I will enjoy it fully. Else, I have my backup. I will fall back on my backup. So hence you will have a freedom from desperation, freedom from worldly fleeting objects, and this worldly fleeting joy. And that is the third benefit. Now, coming to the fourth benefit, would anyone like to ask any questions? I will also give time after we're done fully. Okay.
Where are all these written? Where are all these details written, madam?
I can, so I'm giving the knowledge which I've received from my teachers. This knowledge is always received through a lineage. So you're receiving it now. If you want to know, which is why this knowledge is always heard. The best way is Shravanam, listening. And there are books you will find, but it's not the recommended way to really receive this knowledge. But the exact terms I can post in the group for you.
Thank you.
And now let's come to the fourth benefit, which is Agata Nivritti, which is freedom from shocks or trauma. Agata is can be translated as trauma. So we're talking about freedom from this. Now we all know that life experiences are a mix of painful and pleasurable experiences. Things often do not go as per plan. Things beyond our control affect us. And there are always choiceless situations that we have to live with, that we cannot escape. Acharya Raviji likes to give this example of Delhi summers. You know it's going to hit 45 degrees in June. You can complain about it all you want. You can say it is hot, but it's not going to change the situation. Right. So you can take some remedies, sit in an air conditioning when you have to, when you can, things like that. But at some point you will have to face the heat. And that is a choiceless situation. Another more profound choiceless situation, which affects all of us at some point in life, is death. We all probably have or will lose loved ones at some point. We will all have to face our own mortality at some point. So the scriptures point out that even though we cannot change the situation, the impact on it, how it affects you psychologically, that impact can be modified. That impact can be reduced. You will see in the same family itself, when a tragedy strikes, when someone dies, or fortune is lost, or a big personal health situation occurs, different people in your own family react to these situations differently. So they seem to experience this situation differently. So the objective situation may be exactly the same, but what you experience can be different. Take a father and a child, right? So say the child has lost a beloved toy of his, and he will be crying and crying. And the father will console him saying, it's okay, it's just a toy. I will buy you one more. It's fine. Don't worry about it. The father is Mukta Purusha at that point, completely unaffected by this. I mean, of course, he's probably feeling bad that his child is sad, but he doesn't feel the same sadness the child is feeling at that point. But imagine if the father or the mother lost their new expensive phone, who will be crying at that point? Right? So the impact we feel is different. This impact is translated as agata, trauma. And this self-knowledge is the most powerful shock absorber. The scriptures tells us that many times you cannot change the world, you cannot change the people around you, you cannot change certain relationships, but you can certainly change your attitude towards them. You can reduce or even eliminate the impact. This immunity of the mind is called agata nivritti. That's our fourth benefit. So we just have one left, and I think in good time. The last benefit we will talk about is dakshata prapti. Dakshata is translated as efficiency. We all have two personalities in us functioning all the time. The personality of the receiver, which we call bhokta, and the personality of the doer, the karta. And there are inputs coming from the world all the time in terms of experiences, relationships, people. I receive these inputs and I react as happy or unhappy. I react with kama, with desire, with krodha, anger, lobha, greed, moha, delusion. And as the doer personality, I can simply react, in which case I'm really no better than an animal, or I can learn to be more and more immune to these external factors. The efficiency of the karta, the doer, heavily depends on the condition of the bhokta. So your performance at work or your ability to be loving towards a screaming child probably depends on your physical and mental health at that point. If you're well rested and calm, you would be able to handle situations which come your way much better. So as your shock absorption or agata nivritti that we talked about in the previous point improves, so will your performance. Agata nivritti is the benefit you enjoy as the bhokta, the receiver personality, and dakshata prapti, the better efficiency, is the benefit you enjoy as the karta personality. So these are the 5 main benefits we talk about of why one should pursue this knowledge. Why should one pursue moksha? Enjoying these 5 benefits in full measure is basically what moksha is about. And if you're interested to know how to get that, you will have to come to the rest of the classes. So, does anyone have any questions at this point?
No questions. Thank you very much. Absolutely fantastic Vedanta tattvas. Thank you.
Spandana, it will be good if you can explain this dakshata prapti again once briefly.
Dakshata prapti? Sure.
Yes.
So, did you understand what I said about agata nivritti?
Yeah, immunity of mind.
Immunity of the mind, right? So basically I'm saying there are 2 personalities that you, Jupiter, have, right? So what do? You receive experiences in the world.
Yes.
And you also then respond to those.
Respond.
So we can either respond or simply react. Correct? So when when you're in a good state of mind, when you're completely calm, peaceful, you can probably handle things much better, right? So if you're having a wonderful day, then suddenly if things start going around, you burn your food while you're cooking, or your taxi doesn't show up in time, you can handle it kind of okay, right?
Yeah.
But say you're already like a bit sick that day, not feeling too well, or you've had a bad fight with someone, so you're already in a bad mood, and then you burn your food, or your taxi doesn't show up, won't you be affected even more then?
Yeah.
So what I was saying was, as your agata nivritti improves, which means your this shock absorption capacity improves, your immunity of the mind improves, so will your dakshata prapti, so will your efficiency. So as you're less affected by things, as your equilibrium is less likely to be disturbed, your ability to handle whatever comes your way will also improve. So that is,
Efficiency improve.
your efficiency will improve because you always have a better, calmer state of mind.
Yeah.
So you'll
Nice.
also
Thank
perform
you.
more efficiently.
Thank you.
So
Why-
your efficiency will improve as a karta as well as a bhukta.
Yes, in a way you can say that. We say efficiency improves as karta, and yeah, the immunity of the mind improves as the bhokta.
I
Just
wanted to
Pandanaji, I
ask-
have, okay. Go ahead,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I wanted to ask that is there a supplementary reading that we can use along with the classes?
So I will be providing recording of these classes. So generally, yeah, it is quite a lot. It's recommended that in the live class, you mostly listen. You can make very short notes if you want, but definitely you should go back and listen to the class once more, and then make your detailed notes, and then the information will definitely stay in your mind.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, Geetaji.
So as we went by, got a lot of points here, but what will be the final objective of us as a group with Tattva Bodha? You said that we need to realize our true nature, right?
Mhm.
Again, what is the entire final objective we are looking at here with the 3 months?
So the entire objective of any Vedanta study, and including Tattva Bodha, is self-realization, moksha,
Moksha, okay.
which we just demystified as nothing very mystical at all. It's simply these 5 benefits that we talked about. And it's like, and what will happen in 3 months will depend on where you are currently. So for some people, one text is enough for the self-realization. For some, it might take decades or a lifetime or lifetimes. The good thing, though, is if you find yourself in class here today, you've probably already done a lot of the work, right? Even the very fact that Vedanta interested you is amazing. It means that you have built a certain amount of these qualifications already. We'll talk about qualifications for a seeker in quite a bit of detail later on. You must have a certain amount of these qualifications already, or you would not be interested in Vedanta. And I'm happy to see so many of you here today. And I hope most of you stay, but we will find that some people will not stay till the end of this 6-month course that we have, because there is also an incredible amount of grace which is required to be able to come to this study and stay through this study. right? So you might have personal commitments which keep coming up in between, and you will have to, at that point, always make an active choice to prioritize this learning. Maybe you will be able to do at this point, maybe you will not. That will depend on your own effort as well as Ishvara's grace.
Thank you, Spandana.
Thank you. So if we have just a few minutes left, what we can do is, if there's no more questions, I can take us through the opening prayers, the meaning of them. Maybe at least one we can cover this time. So let's look at this first prayer that we do. So the Guru Parampara is very important in this learning. That's how these learnings are passed on. And you have to always be very wary of these self-realized neo-Vedantian neo-gurus who say they've never had a teacher and yet they're teaching. It's very possible that they might be realized, but they will not be able to teach you because there is a certain way Shastra unfolds this teaching, and one can only learn how to unfold this from their teacher. This prayer is basically a salutation to the Guru Parampara. It says, Sadashiva Samarambam, that which this teaching which was given by Lord Shiva, started with Lord Shiva, Shankaracharya Madhyama, and Adi Shankaracharya came in the middle. Adi Shankaracharya was around the 8th century, and he is credited with being the revitalizer of this knowledge. So a lot of the texts we study today are what we consider the pillars of Vedanta, are the texts that he commented on, because it makes it easier for us to understand these texts. So hence we salute Adi Shankaracharya, who came in the middle, Asmadacharya Pariyantam, and my own teacher who now I'm receiving this teaching from, Vande Guru Parampara, like salutations to this Guru Parampara. That's what this prayer means. And so we have a new website we rolled out recently. So vedantaamrutam.org. Those who are new can also go have a look. It will explain about our Guru Parampara in more detail. So my teacher is Ravi Ishwaranji, who I'm so blessed to have met and received this teaching from. He studied from Swami Paramarthananda, who we also lovingly refer to as SPG or Swami P sometimes. You will hear references of his sometimes. So the UPS acronym I used was from Swami P. And Swami Paramarthananda was a direct disciple. You don't need to remember all this. I'm just giving you an overview. Was a direct disciple of Swami Dayananda. And this is the same lineage which rolls up to Adi Shankaracharya. There was also Swami Shivananda, Swami Chinmayananda in the same lineage. So they all have, also all these Swamis also have the last name Saraswati, which indicates they all belong to the same lineage. So this is the first prayer. And we can take, we're at 9 o'clock, so I will take the next prayer in the next class.
Spandana ji, what does Paryantam mean?
Sorry.
What does Paryantam?
I mean, like who I'm receiving from.
Acha, Asmadacharya Paryantam.
Asmadacharya, my Acharya.
Who I am receiving from.
In the end, yeah. So the beginning, the middle, and the end is what it's talking about, this prayer. And So we can start. I will explain this also at some point. It's a beautiful prayer, which I can probably take an entire class on. And I would like to explain this a few classes more in. But for now we will chant it, and you can chant it. So I will call again, you can repeat. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Om Tat Sat.
Thank you, Spandanaji.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pandana.
Thank you.